Yes. Yes. Anyway, very interesting.
Okay, hello and welcome. We will begin this council meeting by acknowledging that the County of Prince Edward is on traditional land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people from the beginning. We thank all the generations of people who have... never mind, I'm supposed to call the meeting to order first. That would probably be better before I start ranting. Anyways, on that note, let's call the meeting to order, and then let's continue on. Prince Edward County is on traditional land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people from the beginning. We thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to the land. Today, the County of Prince Edward is still home to many First Nations and Métis people, and we are grateful to have an opportunity to meet here, work, and continue stewardship on this land. Good evening, everyone. I am Sam Branderhorst, your acting mayor for the evening. Thank you all for joining us this meeting of council, which is being held at Shire Hall, Picton. I would like to welcome the public, my fellow council members, and the media, and anyone else who is joining us either in person or electronically. This meeting is being live streamed, and any participation in the meeting proceedings will become part of the public record. The recording from the meetings will be published on the county's website immediately and can be viewed by selecting the streaming tab on the county's homepage at thecounty.ca. Tonight's agenda lists all the items before our council for consideration. The recommended motions are shown in bold-faced. Copies of the agenda have been posted on our website. Under agenda item 10, I will be calling for comments from the audience on any item in the agenda, following any registered speakers. There are no registered speakers for tonight, but I see a few people in the audience, so feel free to come up and say your piece. Each comment from the audience is provided 3 minutes to speak, and the maximum time allotment for comments is 30 minutes. Comments may be made in person or virtually through Zoom. Bylaws listed on the agenda provided the force of law to decisions of council. Any matter decided today by either resolution or bylaw is final and cannot be revisited by council without majority vote. In the event of a fire, please use the applicable 2 fire exits in Shire Hall or wherever you're tuning in from. For those in Shire Hall chamber, please mute and limit your cell phones. And now let's move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Is there any? Seeing none, moving on. Let's go to section 4, confirmation of the agenda. Can I have a motion to confirm the agenda? Councillor Roberts, Councillor Prinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a Roberts-Prinson motion that the agenda for the council meeting of October 21, 2025 be confirmed.
All in favor? That carries. Thank you. There is no closed meeting, no reports from closed meeting. Thank you. And moving on to section 7, announcements. I would just like to open up announcements by saying, if you haven't heard yet, the Jays are in the World Series. That's, I think, worth announcing. Is there any announcements from members of council? Councillor Grosso first.
All right, well, in the same theme, I'd like to, on behalf of the council and the residents of Prince Edward County, I want to offer a huge congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays on clinching the American League pennant and booking their first trip to the World Series since 1993, which probably Sam Branderhorst wasn't born in. They'll face the Los Angeles Dodgers in game 1 is set for Friday, October 24th, which there is no council meeting, thank God, at 8 p.m., with the series starting right here in Canada. So if you hear a lot of cheering around the county on Friday night, that's not a noise complaint, Mr. Mike Kelly. That's Canadian pride. The team is doing more than chasing a championship. They're bringing our country together when we need it most. Across Canada, people are coming together, neighbors talking, baseball again, families gathering around the TV, and fans everywhere waving the red and white. To the Blue Jays organization and the fans across the nation, congratulations and thank you for reminding us what teamwork, hard work, and hope look like. And I'll just say this, if the Jays bring home the World Series, I'll be the first to suggest we declare a county-wide civic holiday to celebrate. Go Jays, go!
Awesome, Councillor Grosso. You did it much better than myself, and I would like to confirm I was not born in 1993 yet, so good addition. Any more announcements from council? Councillor Pennell, I did see, yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a reminder to every resident in the county. There's a series of meetings going to happen over the next few weeks. In particular, one Thursday night for Amelisburg, and it is basically to present a question that would go on the ballot. It isn't a time for people to get into a hissy fit, but in fact, just to find out what's going on. So I encourage everyone to go in. Quinte News is on their site. Go into the county. It's been advertised several papers, but in case you missed it, I hope you will join in as we all face the future of Prince Edward County.
Well said, Councillor Pennell.
Oh, can I mention one?
You go for it.
We also have coming up on Sunday afternoon at the Ellisonville Hall is a fundraiser for an Amelisburg family. He's in his early 50s, has had a stroke, and it's pretty critical for him, and as well as family driving back forth to Kingston. So it's between 1 and 3. I hope everyone will go out and try to support this family. It's a good cause. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great addition to add. Councillor Grosso?
Thank you, and Roy, thank you so much. It's actually between noon and 4 at the Ellisonville Hall at Dutch Road there. And Andrew he actually did some work in my house. The guy was amazing. He has lived his entire life here in Prince Edward County on Victoria Road. He's married to his loving wife, Andrea, and together they've raised 3 wonderful children, all now in their 20s. A lifelong county resident, Andrew has spent his career working in construction and excavating, a reflection of his strong work ethic and dedication to helping others. He's well known throughout the community and has had the same close-knit group of friends his entire life. Recently, Andrew suffered a brain bleed, a difficult and unexpected challenge for such hardworking, kind, and generous man. But in true county spirit, friends, neighbors, and local businesses have rallied around him and his family. Everyone I spoke with said the same thing. Andrew is the kindest, most caring person you can ever meet. The type who would drop everything to lend a hand day or night. When he's not working, Andrew loves to be outdoors, out on his four-wheeler or side-by-side, enjoying picnics and quiet time with his beautiful wife, Andrea. The fundraiser is in honor and has already been an incredible success with over 100 donated items, a true testament to how deeply loved and respected he is across the county. So if you can all make it out Sunday, I will be DJing myself. I'll be playing your favorite tunes. And so come on out, please. Thank you.
Once again, well said, both of you. That was fantastic. Thank you. I have seen no more announcements around the table, unless Councillor Harrison has, if that's a thinking hand or a hand up in the air. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. We needed that point of clarification. I have a few proclamations to read out. On October 21st, 2025 is Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day. So the full proclamation can be found on the mayor's section of the website. A few that I'm going to read out right now is Indigenous Veterans Day is November 8th. Whereas Indigenous people have served in times of war and peace for more than 200 years from the War of 1812 to Afghanistan, and whereas Indigenous people have overcome many challenges to serve, such as learning a new language, adapting to a new culture, and traveling long distances to enlist. And whereas Indigenous people serve as often overlooked and underappreciated, and whereas more than 2,700 Indigenous members continue to serve in the Canadian Armed Forces. Therefore, I, Sam Branderhorst, on behalf of Steve Ferguson, Mayor of the Corporation of the County of Prince Edward, do hereby recognize November 8th, Indigenous Veterans Day. Residents of the county are encouraged to remember and reflect on the long and proud tradition of Indigenous military service to Canada. And on November 11th, the county will pause in a moment of silence to honor and remember all the men and women who have served and continue to serve Canada during these times of war, conflict, and peace. Another proclamation, Miss Supertest Day, November 1st. Whereas on November 1st, 1957, the Canadian Unlimited class hydroplane Miss Supertest number 2 achieved the official world water speed record of 184.494 miles per hour along the Canadian Boating Federation officially sanctioned 7-mile-long course along Hayward Long Reach in Prince Edward County. And whereas the speed record is recognized by the Union Internationale Monétique, UIM, the world governing body for all power boating activities, and whereas the historical event was recognized locally and internationally by the newspaper headlines, radio, and TV event, and whereas the speed record still lands today, 68 years later, as official Canadian water speed record. Therefore, I, Sam Branderhorst, on behalf of Steve Ferguson, Mayor of the Corporation of the County of Prince Edward, do hereby recognize November 1st, 2025 as Miss Supertest Day in the County of Prince Edward. And my final proclamation, November is Financial Literacy Month. Whereas November 2025 marks the 15th anniversary of Financial Literacy Month, helping Canadians strengthen their financial knowledge and skills with the goal of improving their financial well-being. And whereas throughout November, Prince Edward Learning Center and many other organizations across the county host events and share resources to help strengthen the financial literacy of Canadians and build their financial resilience. And whereas all stakeholders have a role to play in helping Canadians destigmatize conversations about money in order to reduce barriers and collectively help build confidence, improve financial outcomes, and foster financial resilience. And whereas this year's campaign's theme is Talk Money, is a call to action to encourage open and difficult conversations about money. Therefore, I, Sam Branderhorst, on behalf of Steve Ferguson, Mayor of the Corporation of the County of Prince Edward, do hereby recognize the month of November 2025 as Financial Literacy Month in Prince Edward County. Great. Moving on to presentations. There is no presentations today, and now moving on to deputations. There is one deputation today by Mr. Paul Allen to address council regarding pit number 2907 Ridge Road.
I'm not going to be able to speak half as quickly as you, Sam.
It's auctioneer training coming to light.
Okay, auctioneer training, good. So good evening, Acting Mayor and other mere members of council. In March 2023, the Ministry of Natural Resources, MNR, transferred a license to operate Pit 2907 in the county from John Levitt Limited to Elbrook Excavating Inc. of Foxborough, Ontario. The MNR had considered this pit to be dormant since around 2009. The mere dormancy of a pit for 14 years doesn't invalidate a license to operate a pit, according to the ministry. I've provided council with a file of key documents pertaining to the transfer of this license, and I apologize for their late delivery, and I want to thank Ben Norton for taking care of me this afternoon. 2907 is one of 7 pits along a 4-kilometer stretch of Ridge Road, and you'll see, I hope you can see a map of the pits along Ridge Road. There are probably other inactive or dormant pits that are not yet showing up on that map, but it's a very extensive coverage, including at least one pit operated by the county itself. Altogether, these pits cover over 84 hectares and are licensed to extract up to 285,000 tons of aggregate annually. In May and June of 2023, I raised concerns with the county, both with my local councillors as well as with some staff members, that Pitt 2907 had resumed operation with no notice to the neighbors. Worse, the province's Pits and Quarries online website, when I checked, indicated that the MNR had licensed Elbrook to extract aggregate below the water table, again, with no public notice. Around the same time, one of my neighbors who lives directly across the road from Elbrook's property began what has turned out to be a 2+ years campaign to try to get the MNR to come clean about Pit 2907. My neighbor has raised many important questions about the ministry's process and the status of 2907, and frankly, he's still awaiting forthright answers to many of his questions. Prior to the transfer of the license from Levitt to Elbrook, the ministry had restricted 2907 to extracting aggregate above the water table. Typically, there's a number of meters where the aggregate operator needs to remain above the top of the water table. And that was the case with the pre-existing licensee of 2907. The MNR records that my neighbor received just a few weeks ago include 8 annual site inspection reports. So these are official working documents of site inspectors employed by the ministry. And there are 8 of these surveys still on file for the period 1990 to 2018. The 4 most recent of those site inspection reports indicate clearly that the licensee was limited to operating above the water table. No site inspection report indicates that the licensee could extract aggregate below the water table. I've provided those key documents to council as well this afternoon. The license that the MNR issued to Elbrook in March 2023 inexplicably permitted the extraction of aggregate below the water table. There's no sense in which this transaction could be considered the transfer of one and the same license. It also turns out that Elbrook intends not to leave, I'm sorry about the typo, but to lease, nobody get too excited there, Elbrook intends to lease Pit 2907 to Ryan Amos and his family. The Amoses own and operate what I'll call a controversial below water table pit on Ridge Road closer to Picton. The same neighbor who has been across the road from the pit raised this discrepancy with the MNR in late May 2023. By mid-July, the ministry, in fact, had confirmed that the Levitts and Elbrook's licenses were different. The MNR also uncovered a bigger problem. No one could find a site plan that was essential to establishing the pre-existing boundaries and the operational terms and conditions for Pit 2907. The MNR's unsettling discoveries naturally triggered a series of escalating consultations within the ministry up to the Assistant Deputy Minister's office. As of mid-June 2024, the most recent disclosure that we've received from the ministry, the MNR had come to the following view. First, that the ministry couldn't confirm the depth of extraction allowed, whether it was above or below the water table, nor confirm other operating terms and conditions of Pit 2907. Second, while the Aggregate Resources Act required the ministry to carefully consider a site plan before approving the transfer of Levitt's license to Elbrook, the MNR now felt it had no authority to prevent Elbrook from operating his pit without a site plan. And finally, the MNR was offering Elbrook what the ministry called a voluntary approach with options to resolve this awkward situation. And it has provided an open-ended timeline for Elbrook to take one of these options up. And again, I've provided council not with the complete set of documents. As you can imagine, within the ministry, there was a lot of back and forth and looking into things and so on and so forth. But the key documents, as the issue was raised to not the minister's level, but pretty high up in the ministry, I think you had those before you. So in closing, I want to respectfully make the following submissions. This is what I was told I should have, which is an ask of council. And I appreciate that dealing with the Aggregate Resources Act is for sure a provincial responsibility, but there are responsibilities that other agencies at arm's length from the government, and certainly municipal governments have a role to play even under the Aggregates Resources Act. So my submissions are the following. Absent a site plan, and there's unanimous agreement, the MNR doesn't have one, Levitt can't find one, and Elbrook doesn't have one. So absent a site plan, and in the face of other overwhelming evidence, council should urge the MNR to process the Elbrook Amos plan to operate Pit 2907 below the water table as a proposal that makes significant changes to the pit's operations. And on those terms, council should urge the MNR to give notice under the Act so that residents in the county have an opportunity to explain how their interests may be impacted by the Elbrook Amos proposal, and to suggest ways to mitigate these impacts. And finally, council should remind the MNR, and maybe council should remind itself, that under the Act, the interests and the jurisdiction of the county includes, but isn't limited to, planning and land use, traffic and haul routes, natural heritage, source water protection, and community impacts. A not insubstantial bundle of concerns that are clearly in the hands of the municipality.
1 minute.
My neighbors on Ridge Road and others, like the Warings Creek Improvement Association, are convinced that the province and municipality can do a better job of balancing economic development with environmental protection and quality of life in the county. The ministry's handling of the Elbrook Amos plan for 2907 has been rife with problems. Council has a responsibility to intervene so we don't simply drift from bad to worse. Thank you. I picked up at the end there, eh?
Yeah, you had 15 seconds left if you still want it.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Paul. That was great. I'm going to look to council for any questions. Yep, Councillor McNaughton.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this forward. It's very interesting. There's a lot of education that I don't have that I feel like I need, and there's a lot that you've brought forward. We've also received a number of emails about it that I'm not up to date on, as I told you when I walked in. I'm just wondering if there was a new pit, and we've seen that happen on Ridge Road even.
Yep, yeah.
What is the typical consultation? Do you know what the typical consultation parameters are that are required by the MNR in order to move forward with the application even?
Well, there are say the neighbors of the site who are, I think they're called notified parties, who are by regulation due notice from the proposed operator of a pit. There's a presentation to the public at large that's open, that's also mandated. And my experience with this other pit is that council usually experiences a fair bit of interest on both sides of the issue, but probably more from people with concern about the impact of the pit, whether it's in their neighborhood or in their community at large. The Ministry of Natural Resources also has to consult with other ministries, and there are other agencies, including, say, Quinte Conservation, that used to at least have a hand or a say in these matters. I think over time, the role of some of these agencies in terms of speaking to environmental impacts and impacts on natural heritage has been reduced, but on paper at least, it's still there. And it's a far more open and transparent process. There's a hydrogeological survey that's pretty critical to establish, what is the both the historical as well as the usual fluctuation in the levels of the water table. With this other pit, an appeal to LPAT was quite significant in one outcome, that there were monitoring wells established so that it wasn't, eye of sight, or is the ground wet this week or not, but to monitor the level of the water table and to dig or not to dig accordingly. So there's a lot of expertise that gets drawn to a proposal like this.
May I just do a follow-up? So, and what you're looking for is the municipality to identify the need to be more rigorous when there's a change of use to the ministry. Is that sort of is my understanding in that regard correct, based on?
Look, I'll admit that with my neighbors' experience and some of my own with the ministry, they're reluctant to be open about its process. Yeah. It's made a number of missteps. Rather than admit it and biting the bullet, it seems to be trying to square the circle here, and it's left everybody, I would say, including Elbrook, a little bit in limbo. They may or may not ever ask the municipality for its opinion. I think your staff have tried to get an answer as far as process, and that's been difficult. Right. I'm really looking for the municipality to move beyond waiting for the call, but to take some initiative and have an opinion about this matter and share that opinion with the ministry so that they're on notice, because my concern, they've already sort of screwed up this transfer of license. It's not really a transfer of one and the same license. It's two very different ideas of what can be done on this site. And they're very reluctant to open that up. And I don't know that they're going to be eager to bring the municipality in. So I do think you have a role to step forward, and we do have roles, jurisdiction, and responsibilities here, and you need to take recognition of that.
Some proactive involvement, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We're going to, microphone. Councillor Hirsch?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Paul, for bringing this to our attention. We have apparently reached out to ministry, and they advised that the pit is currently dormant with no extraction activity.
Yeah.
From your observation, I know you can't sort of go in and necessarily see what they're doing, but can you tell what kind of activity is currently or been recently happening on the site?
I would say it's been quieter more recently, but back in the spring of 2023, they didn't have a gate on the site. They had heavy machinery. They were excavating the property. They had big sifters, sorting sand and gravel and trucking things off the property. Now, they have denied that, and when the inspector was there, of course, they didn't observe this, but firsthand, I can tell you that there had been activity on site.
Yeah, so it certainly sounds like extraction activity has taken place.
Yeah, and the neighbors whose backyards abut the thing said, they were working like through the night after dark and first thing in the morning, and it was, they're sort of senior citizens, and they were gravely disturbed by this. And again, without any idea of what was going on.
So I would agree that we have a role. It seems to me that you can't transfer a license to something if you don't know what that something is. There is no site plan. So to me, this should be treated by the ministry as a new application for a pit and go through the, as Councillor McNaughton mentioned, there is a public process where everyone gets a chance to comment. Pits in this area have been controversial in the county, as everybody knows. And I think when the time is right, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to sponsor a motion that kind of goes along the lines that Mr. Allen has proposed.
I will, thank you for saying that, Councillor Hirsch. I know our clerk has come up with some language ahead of time, if that's helpful for the moment, but I will just see, is there any more questions before we go to that motion? Councillor McNaughton?
Would you entertain a question to staff?
Yep.
If they're representing to the province that it is a dormant pit currently, are we receiving any of the benefits that the Aggregates Act provides to municipalities, whereby we receive, I think they would be called royalties, and who would be in charge of overseeing that, and how would we know if they were providing those royalties? There's your stumper for the day, right out of the gate, Adam. Just my joy to bring that to you. And if you don't have an answer now, that's fine.
And through you, Acting Mayor Branderhorst, Albert Peshkowiak is our Supervisor of Environmental Services and Sustainability. He's been working with Mr. Allen. He's our pit and quarry guru. I believe the answer to the royalty, I'll have to get an answer from finance. I believe that is, those are receivables handled through them. I can get an answer and transmit that to council. But Mr. Peshkowiak may have another comment.
Through you, Madam Chair. I came in late to this. I didn't exactly hear the question. I'm wondering if it's possible to share that question again.
Certainly. Hi, Albert. It's Kate speaking. Oh, there you are. I asked if there is, I don't understand how remittances to the county from pits and quarries under the regulatory, the regulations of the Aggregates Act, how they get remitted to the county. And I'm just wondering if a pit is claiming to be dormant or is not supposedly in the ministry's eyes functional, are we still receiving royalties?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, and the word guru is a strong word, so I'll caveat that before I begin. My understanding is that the royalties are paid based on the tonnages extracted at each site, and so there's a percentage that would come to the municipality, again, per the ARA, per the breakdown that's in that legislation. So if it's inactive, then to my knowledge, I don't believe there should be remittances.
So just to clarify, if they are active but are claiming not to be, who enforces that if they are caught in the act?
Enforcement of the, through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor McNaughton, enforcement of those matters would fall to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, I believe.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Pennell?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. This has been going on for quite a while. Have you, the people in the area, contacted your provincial member of parliament? It just seems if you can't get response, that perhaps should be the first person to go.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I did make a point of going to a hot dog barbecue with our MPP, and he gave me an appointment with his office or constituency assistant about a month or so ago. They were getting themselves briefed. He thought he might be able to see the Minister of Natural Resources in the coming week or two. That turned out not to have been possible, and I've heard nothing back since then.
I would suggest, I think if it was me,
Yeah.
I would be going back and asking for an answer. And I agree, we've got to take a serious look at it. But I would like to hope that you went through the process before we ask council to get involved. And I would suggest getting a hold of them immediately to see if you can get a response.
Well, I undertake to beat you in emailing the MPP before tonight is over. You can do your bit.
I will not be there because my computer is broken.
Okay. Well, Ben Norton is very good with computers.
Perfect, thank you, Councillor. Now, Councillor Hirsch, I believe this is the time for your motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Clerk, for suggesting a text. I think this might work. There's still some unknowns here. I mean, those who've read the whole file, and it is voluminous, will see that M&R admits that they will have to do a new site plan, but they don't define that process as to how they're going to go about it. And I think we might have something to say about how rigorous that process should be as a municipality. So the text that Victoria has suggested reads as follows: that the mayor be requested to consult with staff on the information submitted by Paul Allen on potential representations to the Ministry of Natural Resources relating to Pit 2907 on Ridge Road. That would give staff and Mr. Allen the chance to formulate a way forward with the ministry that could involve the municipality. If I had a seconder, Councilor McNaughton.
Great, okay.
Could I make a friendly suggestion that
Sure.
the Source Water Protection, Protection Committee chair be engaged as well? No?
Is that not part of staff?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think staff covers it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Seeing no questions on the motion, I'm going to call a vote. All in favor? Yeah, that carries. Okay, that's great. There's no more deputations, so we will be... Oh, motion to receive. Thank you, Clerk. The deputation. Councillor Princeton, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's Princeton Pennell motion that a deputation by Paul Allen regarding Pit 2907 Ridge Road be received.
All in favor? That carries. Moving on, we're going to move to comments from the audience. Since there's no pre-registered comments, I'm going to ask anyone in the audience, any comments? Seeing none. Okay, let's keep going then. Let's move on to item 11.1, items for consideration. This is report of the Development Services Department dated October 21st, 2025 regarding conditional building permit delegated authority. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Councillor St. Jean, Councillor McNaughton.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. This is a St. Jean McNaughton motion that report DS 67-2025 regarding conditional building permit delegated authority be received, and that a bylaw to amend bylaw 3167-2012 being a bylaw to provide for the delegation of duties by council to municipal employees, to delegate authority to the chief building official to enter into agreements for the issuance of conditional building permits as listed on the agenda be approved.
Great, thank you for that. And we have our chief building officer, I believe, right? Yes. CBO? Official, sorry. Got it. But it's great to have you here. Would you like to, do you have any preamble you would like to say first, or do you want to go straight into questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Section 8.3 of the Building Code Act allows chief building officials to issue conditional building permits under certain types of conditions. And part of that means that we have to meet the Planning Act regulations. There are certain other regulations that we also have to meet, but part of that means that we also have to enter into written agreements with the applicants. And the written agreements are there to ensure that in the event that approvals are not obtained, that the site can be restored back to its original condition, or that the permit can be revoked. And so it just provides more security for the municipality as well as the issuance of conditional permit. Also helps to streamline and make the permit process more efficient. And it also allows construction to start on a little bit earlier of a basis. So for instance, example, if we're looking at providing affordable housing in the county, or other types of industrial or commercial developments within the county as well, that allows us to have construction begin, so that can reduce lengthy delays that and additional costs that could be attributed to changing fees. It could be the tariffs, material costs, labor shortages, that type of thing, or even inclement weather conditions as well too. So it allows that construction to get started. Now, the process itself is not a means to fast track building permits or developments. So developments still have to meet the exact same stringent requirements that the building code requires, through health and safety. It is not also a fast track through the planning process as well too. So this is under certain conditions where it may be unreasonable to delay the construction, but it also has provisions in it under the Building Code Act to ensure that zoning provisions are taken care of, or any other applicable law requirements such as a record of site condition, for instance.
Great, thank you so much for that. I'm going to look to Council for any questions right off the bat. Councillor St. Jean.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Thank you for this, Ryan. I think this is a very good step forward. I think we've also heard in the news, I'll say our neighbors to the north, Quinte West, trying to expedite building permits using an e-permitting process, which I know I'm not quite sure where we're at with that ourselves, but I think we're going to be pretty close. So I guess I just more or less want to say, thank you for bringing this forward. I think anything we can do to not get in the way, that's what this is more about than anything else, not get in the way of allowing building to move forward. In my mind, it becomes really critical when you get into the later part of the season. We don't want anybody to be attempting to pour concrete in December. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you can give an additional a conditional permit to get something started sooner so they can get it closed in and keep working all winter long, I think that's good for everybody. So not a question, sorry, but certainly I see the good that can come from this, and I know that it will be fairly controlled. It's not bypassing anything, it's actually helping to enhance the system that's already there. So thanks, Ryan.
Great, thank you. And I should have said questions and or statements, I guess. As to your right, Councillor Harrison.
Yes, so currently there's no accommodation for this sort of thing, is that correct?
For you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Harrison. In the past, conditional permits have been issued. However, I can't speak to the reason or the why conditional permits or the past practices. However, what we are doing right now is we're looking to ensure that the municipality further reduces our risks when we look at issuing conditional permits. Hence why we're looking to be able to enter into agreements with applicants, again, to be able to restore the site. But it's also to keep the building department in line with the provincial legislation, which specifically requires that when we issue a conditional permit, that we enter into those types of agreements.
Okay, thank you.
I'm seeing no other hands up. Then the motion's on the floor. I'm going to call a vote. All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council.
Next up, 11.2, and I believe Councillor Prinson. So this is 11.2, that report, report of the Operational Services Department dated October 21st, 2025 regarding Sidewalk Winter Maintenance Program overview. Now, this was originally, just as a little preamble of myself, brought up by Councillor Nyman, who is not here to speak on behalf of it. So I believe Councillor Prinzen has a motion that he would like to bring forward before we put this on the floor.
I do, thank you, Madam Chair. Councillor Grosso has agreed to be my seconder. As our chair has said, Councillor Nyman wanted to be here for this discussion. He was unable to be here tonight, so the motion I'm going to bring forward is that the report OPS-19-2025 regarding the Sidewalk Winter Maintenance Program overview be deferred until the November 13th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting to allow Councillor Nyman to be present for that discussion.
Great, thank you for that. So as you already have a seconder, any questions? I'm seeing none. That's pretty straightforward. Let's call a vote. All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much. Moving on. Let's go to 11.3, report of the Operational Services Department dated October 21st, 2025 regarding 5-year Rural Road Improvement Plan update. I'm going to look for a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Grosso, maybe as it's your motion, you might want to. You want to move it? Okay, we got Councillor Grosso and Councillor Pennell.
All right, this is a Grosso-Pennell motion here, report of the report OPS-17-2025 regarding the 5-year rural road improvement plan update be received.
Great, thank you. Oh, no, there's more to it.
Thanks, Phil. This number 2, that staff be directed to continue implementation of the 5-year road improvement plan, 2023 to 2027. That staff be directed to investigate an increased use of contracted services for the delivery of double service treatment, rehabilitation work, and report back with options and recommendations as part of the 2026 budget deliberations. 4, that council continue with approved plan for the conversion of County Roads 28 and 35 from asphalt to surface treatment as outlined in this report. And number 5, that staff be directed to include funding in the proposed 2026 budget to complete a new electronic condition assessment of all hard service roadways within the county's road network.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
But for serious this time. Because I called it too soon. Anyways, I shouldn't explain my own jokes. Staff, would you like to speak on this preamble, or would you like to go straight in the questions?
Through you, your mayor. Just going to questions.
Fantastic. Councillor Hirsch, I see your hand shooting right up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ronnie, for this report. This covers a number of important areas, and I have to say that I agree with all of the motions, especially 2 in particular I'd like to call out, and that is the concept of doing double service treatment completely by contractor rather than the split approach that we've been doing. We had, that did work for a time, and I know Mr. Bryans is here, and he was a fan of this at one point, but we did have certainly some issues this summer with the period of time between the rubbleizing and adding base to the sections of the road, and when the DST was actually applied much later in the summer, the dust complaints got out of control, just as the dust was out of control. And the suggestion here in your report is that by making this all part of a single contract, dust control can be part of that equation, and I think that will serve us better. So I like that idea. And in terms of the 5th part of the motion, having a new electronic condition assessment of the roadways, we absolutely need to do that. We're almost 5 years old on the previous version, and I certainly look forward to approving that in the budget in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hirsch. Councillor Harrison, and then Councillor Pennell.
Yes, what, on that item 5 there, the electronic condition assessment, do you have a cost on that?
Councillor Harris, through you, Mayor. I do not have a cost on. I do not personally have a cost on that. Generally, that is overseen by engineering.
Okay, go ahead, Adam.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Harrison, through you, Acting Mayor. Last time, I believe it was in the order of about $50,000, and so I can imagine it'd be perhaps a little more, between 50 and 75 this time around. But we won't know until we get to budget on it. But last time it was around 50,000.
Okay, I can't support that number 5 until we're actually see where our budget shakes out. We've talked to, that's not just this, there's been a number of items that have come up that we've been reluctant to commit ourselves to prior to knowing how much money we've got to spend.
Thank you, and through you.
ICU?
This is just a referral to the budget process. You're not approving any funds today. This is just a flagging and getting council's thoughts on whether we should include this in the draft budget and have those discussions of whether to approve it or not in December.
So then we would have the option then to pull it if we're, okay, that sheds a different light on it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pennell, and then after Councillor Maynard, I see your hand, and then Councillor St. Jean.
Yeah, I think this last year in particular, we have made tremendous strides in our roads program. And I can see where some areas I'm pulling back from asphalt, going to the double surface treatment. I know County Road 33, known as Highway 33 before, that happened in the Consicon area. So far, it looks wonderful. And I think through trying things like this, we may find we got more money to fix roads as they should be, that people can travel, by trying different things. I have a concern, which I mentioned tonight. We go down into Huff's Island, the last 2 or 3 kilometers, 2 houses that you're paving to get to. We go up to Palmer Burris Road there, once again. We're redoing that. There's 1 house on the road. And yet, we got roads where there's 25 houses in less distance, but we haven't got the money to do it. Just can't. So I believe by trying different things, such as you're proposing right now, it's the only way that we can move ahead and hopefully get all our roads in a better condition than they are now, and something the taxpayer can afford. So I look forward to some of the ideas coming forward until we see what they can do. It's hard to sit back and say, yeah, that works great, or no, that's no good at all. We've got to try it to know. But I'm glad, as a municipality, as the roads department, we're prepared to move ahead, try things differently. Because what we've been doing hasn't been working. We got roads that have went 28 years, never been touched. And I look forward to thinking outside of the box. I think it's about time. I commend the whole crew for that.
Thanks, Councillor Pennell. Moving on, Councillor Maynard.
Thank you. So just for consideration, we have had a number of single surface treated roads that were not completed due to the condition of the road. They weren't eligible for single surface treatment. So when we come back to the budget, I really would like to see how we move some of those roads that were not eligible for single surface treatment and continue to deteriorate, that they for consideration to move those into the double surface treatment category. I know that obviously there's budget considerations, but I think that's, that they clearly need to be done, but they just didn't qualify any longer for single surface treatment. There's one road, Taft Road, single surface treatment may work, but I think we should look and see, right? Because there's a lot of, sinks where the culverts are and deterioration alongside the road, to see whether single surface treatment on that fairly busy cutoff between County Road 3 and 33, whether that one, it's in the last couple of years has deteriorated quite a bit. And the last one for consideration is County Road 28, which is a paved road and is scheduled to go to surface treatment. I'd like, the long-term benefit of retaining that as a paved road. There's over 100 houses along that stretch, and it's really close to the it's quite close to the requirements for a paved road. So when that comes back at budget, if we could just kind of have some, how that would affect the budget and the timing of other roads.
Okay, thank you for that. I believe that's just getting noted, correct?
Correct. Just
Okay,
noting that down for budget.
Perfect, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Moving on to Councillor St. Jean.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. With regards to I believe it was called Street Scan, is the system we used in the past, in 2021, I guess it was. As part of this process, since you said you don't have a pricing, but engineering might, will we be looking at alternative systems? Because I can't find the email I sent out, but I believe I sent an email to Director Gilmore with regards to some more recent technology that would provide us with ongoing and continuous monitoring. Some technology that can be attached to every roads vehicle, so that we're not doing this every 4 or 5 years, being out of date all the time. Also, I believe there's drone technology that's out there right now. Combining that with AI, I think there's some potential there. So I'm wondering, will you be looking at all of those potentials instead of just reverting back to Street Scan, which I don't think everybody was too enamored with?
So through you, Your Mayor, to Councillor St. Jean. Again, the RFP will be designed by the engineering department, but I am familiar with the email you sent to Troy with regards to the attachments to the vehicles for street scanning. I think I read that, and I remember Northumberland actually is one of the municipalities that use it. But other than reading that brief article, I'm not familiar with I have no experience with trying it out. But the other thing with other new technologies that maybe haven't broken, the market of Canada and Northern America, I just be careful about what we kind of leave ourselves to. Sometimes it's nice to be a guinea pig, but the asset management that we're working towards, we want probably data that's been, from companies that are used to Canadian environments, and maybe, that have been used recently. But there's lots of technology out there. I just be careful about some of them.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm more or less just looking for reassurance that engineering will make every effort to look at all of the potential technology that's out there, including some of the new stuff that's being AI driven. That great way to put AI to our advantage, as opposed to just putting a camera and a rideability sensor on a vehicle. I think we need to do better, so hopefully we'll. But that's great. Thanks, Ronnie.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for that. I'm seeing no other hands, so let's call a vote since the motion's on the floor. All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much, Supervisor Jocelyn. And moving on to report of Housing Department dated October 21st, 2025 regarding Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation governance updates. would you like to give a preamble to this or go straight into questions? Oh, motion on the floor. Thank you, clerk. Keeping me in line. Councillor St. Jean. Councillor McNaught.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. This is a St. Jean McNaughton motion that report HD 03-2025 regarding Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation governance update be received, that bylaw 21-2023, being a bylaw to reestablish the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation as a municipal services corporation, be repealed, and that bylaw 2025, being a bylaw to confirm the reestablishment of the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation as a municipal services corporation, authorize the execution of a service level agreement between the County of Prince Edward and the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation, and repeal bylaw 21-2023 as listed on the agenda be approved.
Thank you for that. Supervisor Ziegler, would you like to preamble or questions? It's up to you.
It might help to provide a little bit of background, Acting Mayor, only because it just helps to follow the bouncing ball. So the Housing Corporation was an incorporated body, nonprofit prior to 2023 when it became a municipal services corporation. So it had a set of bylaws. And then in 2023, bylaw 21-2023 specifically, added those bylaws to the county's bylaw with that designation. And the governance working group has done a comprehensive review of all of the governance documents, and including with, she's gone, the former Director of Planning Services, and with advice from Sarah Vio, the municipal lawyer, we flagged that we needed one change in the corporate bylaw. And when we looked at 21-2023, we realized that there were essentially two bylaws that were identical. They're redundant, meaning that if we change one, we would have to change the other. So effectively, a bylaw that's drafted here strengthens the language a little bit for the purposes of the Municipal Act regulation, and then we attach the new bylaw that was just approved, and also the service level agreement, which hadn't been attached before. So it's really just a bit of administrative housekeeping.
Thank you for that. I'm going to look for any questions or comments. Councillor Pennell, I see your hand.
Sorry, bud. My bad. It's your fault. Thanks. Up to two members, up to two members of municipal council may be appointed as director to the corporation's board. And I'll tell you, for the money the county is going to have in this board, I don't like the wording may. I think it should be shall. Also, if we go to item I, Board of Directors may hold its meeting at any place in Ontario. I don't know about you, but I don't like holding it any place. Is that a bar in Toronto? Is that, at a poolside sipping I just feel it should be held in Prince Edward County. The other thing that I take exception to is that if someone wants to resign from the board, they've got to put their submission in that's suitable to the chair. I never heard tell us such crap in my life as that. If you're going to resign, you're going to resign. The other thing that I see in regards to things that can be mailed out after what we just come through, as far as mail, I think we need a little reassurance if it's not being done, if the mail's not possible, it's done in another way. I just received a letter from Picton that took 32 days to get to me. Also, under the real estate section 5.1 states that we will approve a sale of lands if we declare it that we don't need it. I don't think that wording should be in there. I think it should be, we may approve, not that we will. Will and may is the difference in night and day. So those are the things that step out to me loud and clear that I can't support it the way it is right now until some wording is changed.
Okay, any comments from staff?
Well, there are some things in here that are sort of historic language having to do with in the bylaws. So there are two different things here. There are the bylaws and the service level agreement. So the bylaw, for instance, about anywhere in Ontario, there's other provisions too that talk about digital meetings. So what that does, sorry, through the acting chair, is allow someone to attend virtually, but not. Everyone doesn't have to be physically present in one place in Prince Edward County. And at this point, the Housing Corporation's meetings are live streamed right here. And that's the standard practice because we are a municipal services corporation. So that's just kind of legacy language from the Ontario Nonprofit Corporations Act.
I certainly have all the credit in the world for the ones that are there now. But things change along the way. We have new people involved, and I just would feel a lot more comfortable if that was kind of some ground rules that are there to pass on. Just my own thoughts.
Okay. Look at you, Councillor Princeton. Councillor McNaughton?
That was interesting. Thank you, Roy, and thank you for your attention to detail. Just further to that question, I'm interested in what you've said. Does that mean if one of us goes overseas on vacation, that would we be limited technically from participating in a meeting, or would it still be considered to be held in the county even if one or two participants might be somewhere else?
Through the,
and I'm saying this recognizing there are no geographical procedural bylaw police. I hope.
Through the acting mayor to Councillor McNaughton, because the meetings are physically held here, if you're able to attend the meeting remotely, then the meeting would still be held here and there would still be quorum. Okay. Because you would still be able to participate, in short.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Acting Mayor, and Councillor for wherever you come from.
Somewhere in the south.
I just want to take the temperature of the direction we're heading in. 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, I was pretty involved in setting up the Affordable Housing Corporation. And it came into life 7 years ago. And my working premise then, and it possibly remains the same today, there were two of them, was that the corporation needed to be independent of Shire Hall. It needed to be nimble. It needed to not be absorbed into another culture, but it needed to have a culture of its own. And that culture needed to embrace private sector partnership, where the time frame and the time imperative is very different than the public sector. When you have entrepreneurs involved with investment considerations, the focus is on results and implementation, and less so on legitimate, but less so on process. I wonder if we need to revisit those two premises. That the Affordable Housing Corporation will only really succeed if it's independent and has its own culture and its own private sector involvement. And if we are wasting our time with the Affordable Housing Corporation, if after 7 years, there's, what do we really have? And we need to be more directive as council in terms of our involvement with the Affordable Housing Corporation about the engagement of private sector entrepreneurship to get the job done. And I invite the chair of the Affordable Housing Corporation to comment. I invite staff to comment. Adam especially, you've lived this for a while, so I just want to hear what you say about that.
I'll give any takers right off the bat. Staff?
Through the acting mayor to Councillor Roberts, as a founding board member of the Housing Corporation formerly, I appreciate your continued enthusiasm and your concern. I've as a staff person trying to support the corporation, it is a frustrating process, and having talked to subject matter experts, it's not unusual for a housing corporation starting from scratch to be exactly where we are, that we unfortunately need to pace ourselves. Having said that, the Housing Corporation has been actively seeking private partnerships, and even those private partners are facing exactly the same problems that the Housing Corporation is in terms of being able to finance the kind of housing that we're talking about. And that this is the primary problem, is that affordable housing being cheaper causes development problems without senior level government funding. And hopefully that will change with the federal budget. But essentially, we are where the private sector is, and the board currently and will continue to be working towards solutions to make housing happen.
Thank you, Councillor and also Chair.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Thank you, Bill, for raising this. Councillor Roberts, I know we've had a private conversation about this previously. And I think Alice has very briefly summed up the nut of the problem. You can't build affordable housing, whether you're a private enterprise or a public enterprise, to meet the current criteria without that upper level funding, that support, that financing through SAMHC and with the assistance of grants, whatever. And that's been a challenge all along for seven years. Now, myself and Councillor Nyman have been on for this term, and it's been, I will not deny, it has been an extreme challenge. One denial, one right after the other, one disappointment right after the other. It is one of the biggest challenges here. You think it's difficult to keep our roads in good shape? It's really difficult to build affordable housing. I know we have also talked in the past about private sector investment and partnerships more than anything. And that is the path that we're on right now. And I feel extremely confident that we are going to see that come to fruition very, very shortly. We, not too long ago, released an EOI for the Disraeli Street project. And we had an amazing offer from a private partner to build it, and at a very, very good price. So that, of course, we realized afterwards that in order to be able to move forward on the project, we need an RFP. But again, working with the private partners. That's the only way we're going to get this done, unless you want to build a team of 20 staffers to get all of this done. I don't think we want to be York Housing. I don't think we should ever try to be York Housing. So we will. We are on that path. I feel much more confident now than I did a year ago when we kept getting no from everything that we were trying to do. We are, and this is something I feel I need to add, you know, as council knows, there are 5 council members currently on the Affordable Housing Corporation. And we are in the process of, I believe, the requests for public members. We're trying to rebuild that. This governance update was, again, tidying up some loose ends and things that just didn't make sense, so that we can continue to move forward and actually make some progress. And I know I did say to you a few days ago, we will have some very good news very shortly. And I stand by those words. I honestly do. I don't know if our Director of Housing / acting CAO has anything else to add, but I get the concerns. I honestly do. I've had a lot of them myself. But that's why we need those public partners to make this happen. And I can assure you I will be pushing for that all the way.
Would you like, before hearing the ICAO? That's up to you. Okay.
In the private sector, there's a concept of opportunity costs. In the public sector, not so much. So that's a consideration. Secondly, is that actually completely true? The block at Base 31 before us now has affordable attainable housing without a cent coming from the Affordable Housing Corporation. The Cleve development has affordable attainable housing without a cent coming from the Affordable Housing Corporation. I still, and I believe, unless I have a conversion on the road to Damascus, believe that it's imperative that the Affordable Housing Corporation, you know, if better late than never, really engages the private sector. That's my engagement.
Thank you. ICAO, any comments?
Thank you. Madam Acting Mayor, I do share the councillor's sense of the agility that the previous setup may have had. So I like the MSC, the Municipal Services Corporation arrangement, because it allows us to have a vehicle for those ultimate CMHC loans should the board choose to create housing that way. But it is intense, and being honest, it's intensely frustrating that we have our normal municipal processes to go through, and when if we were in our model we used to be in, would we have just been able to move ahead based on the information we received? That is a frustrating matter, that we now must go through our what we would consider a standard municipal procurement process when we essentially had a proposal for a really good product from a private sector partner with CMHC support. So we're still working through that, but I do agree that it is a bit frustrating that we are a bit of a lumbering, slow machine when it comes to this sort of construction.
Okay, I'm seeing no follow-up. I have Councillor Engelsdorfer next, and then McNaught, and then Pennell. Sorry, Pennell, you're going to have to wait. Harrison's up next.
Thank you. I'm going to have an amending motion. I just don't know procedurally when to bring that forward. Maybe I'll let everybody else have a turn, and then I'll put that on at the end.
That sounds great. Okay. I'm going to put you as the first motion when comments are done.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you for the acknowledgement. Councillor McNaught.
I was sort of kicking around the idea of an amending motion too, which I will still consider. But I do want to, as a current temporary member of the board, I want to sort of consider what Bill has said. And it's very difficult when you're part of a group and you're trying to make things work and it's an uphill climb. It's difficult because you want to be part of the team and pushing up all in the same direction, but at the same time, you might, with a critical eye, see where some of the challenges that that there are perhaps other directions that we could be looking at the same time when we've got dedicated staff. And I think about that in the planning realm quite a bit when we see, planning bylaws or procedures come back to us that haven't fully thought about a housing first approach, that when we breathed life into the corporation, that was supposed to happen, that the housing corporation was supposed to work with the planning department. That was part of the idea. And it has, I think, happened a little, but gets lost as something where we could really have an impact. And I think that could be reinvigorated. I also think that there are other bodies that could fund housing, and we have talked about them at the edges at times, and it's been brought up at the council table and brought up in housing corporation meetings. But it's never been fully explored properly, which is one of the questions I get from the public again and again and again is, where do I send you the check to contribute to the pool? And I really think that there are community financing options available that we just keep not looking into because they're confusing, complicated, and I think there's some staff who have gone now, but there was some misunderstanding about how you could do that. So for example, community bonds program, there are other municipalities doing it. And I think that is something that people in our community would love to do. Also invigorating some of the community efforts that have been done, which actually are, I believe, housing staff have been very supportive of and contributed to those conversations. But I think there's a lot more outside of the box thinking that was sort of not understood to be in conjunction with the box along the way, and we can do better. And honestly, I really want to see fully invested. And I think it might be the reason why, some of the outlier ideas not being at least explored have been maybe some of the reasons for members who've resigned to become frustrated. So I think those are all things that should be considered. The motion I was considering, while I do want lots of qualified members of the public to come forward and be on this board, I don't want to leave it. And I don't have I don't feel like a solid full member because we've got 2 members on the board and the wording says up to, that we may appoint up to. I would want to see skilled public members, but I also want to see people who are willing to be relentless and thorny advocates for housing who might not have, who will be like, they're swinging when the ball seems to be sort of not going in the right trajectory. I was trying to bring in a baseball analogy. Thank you. I did my best. So, I think there's still deep thought that has happened that could be actioned. I don't know. I really don't know what the how, I guess we don't know until we see what a new board looks like, how that gets invigorated. But it's certainly, even if I'm not there, I'm going to be coming and speaking to it. We took a very respectful approach last term and let the board get on and do what they felt they needed to do. And, it was hard to take that step back and let things happen. And I certainly feel like we can all be more proactive to remember that this is a key priority for every budget, every policy, every planning policy that comes forward.
Thank you. Councillor Pennell?
The big thing I wanted to say, I'm not saying nothing about the board, but until they start getting money come in, and that, at this point, the taxpayer is still the banker of it at this point. And all I'm saying, as we move ahead, let's be sure the wording is properly to cover the taxpayer. I'm thoroughly convinced right now it's a little wishy in spot. And all I'm trying to do is protect the taxpayer. And I respect everything that's taken place with the board. But at this point, the taxpayer still holds the dollars. And they will for several years because it's going to take a long time to get going. So let's get it right the first time rather than rush it through tonight.
Okay, Councillor Harrison.
Yes, I'm kind of sharing some of Councillor Roberts' concerns. Raises some questions here. The first thing I think we should ask ourselves is, does the private sector really need us? When this started a few years ago, I was on council, it seemed like a fair idea, but we're hearing more and more propositions in here from developers that are going to do affordable housing, a certain percentage of it, without us. So why are we prolonging this? And in light of Councillor Pinnell's remarks there, as far as the taxpayer is concerned, there's absolutely no return on investment here. We're just pouring money, more money, more money, more money, and we have nothing to show for it. And I don't know, to me it's like a dog chasing its tail. We're just going nowhere. And I would prefer to basically see it go by the wayside or not be funded, whatever, and let the private sector give them as much encouragement through the planning department or whatever it takes to let them deal with this. And I think the potential for that's out there. And one little example, Habitat for Humanity came here with a project over on the end of Bowery Street for condominiums, one of the first of a kind. A neighbor of mine is involved in that fairly heavily. He said, and I don't know how long this has gone on, they weren't able to get a building permit because the water line was an old line, and until that line was reconstructed, then they couldn't get a building permit. Now, I'm just taking his word for what's said here, but I've seen nowhere there's been any attempt brought forward by anybody to replace that line down Bowery Street to that. Even if there is restricted to 2 inches, that should not have stopped that building from going ahead and the water line following up on that, because 2 inches of water would provide plenty of water for all the testing that would have to go on in that build before they needed full water supply. So that one is basically dormant or gone by the boards, just basically because nobody took upon themselves to see that water line's in. And we didn't even have to dig up the street. Councillor Nyman said those joints were teed in there like they should be, so that it would only have to be dug up, not on Mary Street, but just the end of that T that's on Bowery Street. Some of this stuff is kind of simple, put it mildly, but for the length of time and the investment, I think there's a time when you got to say, cut your losses.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Yep, Councillor Roberts.
Councillor Harrison, I'm not about to step away from an institutional stepchild here. You know, I believe in the Affordable Housing Corporation. My original question, or wondering, was to get a temperature read from those who are most involved and involved in its governance about 2 things that I was convinced of 9 years ago. It had to be independent of Shire Hall because it's not a, I'm just repeating myself. And secondly, the major engagement, the essential engagement with the private sector through 3P, public-private partnerships. And a worry I have, Councillor Harrison, about opportunity costs, which, you know, those things are real. But I'm not speaking to the I'm not in favor of terminating the idea of the Affordable Housing Corporation. I think public-private partnerships can work, but they got to get giddy up because you know, an 8-year delay on a project, you know, is not a private sector ROI like this.
My only point was, do they need us?
Thank you for that. We're going to go, I'm seeing no more hands, so let's go to Councillor Engelsdorfer, who did put his notice on.
Thank you. And I don't know whether it's a standalone motion, but I'll read it out, and then I think I have a seconder in Councillor Prinzen. It's the council directs staff to prepare a report outlining the implications, process, and requirements for dissolving the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corp., including legal, financial, and administrative considerations related to the transfer of all assets, liabilities, and responsibilities to the corporation in the County of Prince Edward. And if I can just speak to it quickly, I want to acknowledge the intent behind the creation of the Affordable Housing Corp., an intent that was and remains admirable. This council and those before it have been clear that housing affordability is one of the greatest challenges facing our community. The corporation was established to be part of the solution to help deliver affordable rental units and leverage partnerships to increase local housing supply. And that's why I'm just asking for a report at this point, because I think we need to have that discussion on where the business of the corp is headed and know what options we have, as well as the implications that come along with those. It's not about abandoning our commitment to affordable housing. It's about ensuring that commitment is pursued through a model that works, one that's efficient, and one that ensures public money is being spent wisely. So it's just a report at this time. That's all it is.
Thank you for that, Councillor. And seconder, any comments? None I see. Councillor McNaughton?
So I do have some comments, but would you mind just rereading the motion first?
Yep. The council directs staff to prepare a report outlining the implications, process, and requirements for dissolving the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation, including legal, financial, and administrative considerations related to the transfer of all assets, liabilities, and responsibilities to the corporation of the County of Prince Edward.
Okay, so I'm not supportive of doing that at this particular pivotal time. First, one of the reasons we did establish it in the first place is so that there would be a legal entity to receive public funds that is not the municipality, so that we as the shareholder, don't have to, we do not have to provide direct governance. We don't carry it on our books in the same way. And the relationship with the municipality does have that measure of independence that Councillor Roberts spoke about. So there could potentially be implications for being able to receive dollars from different entities. But the other reason is it is a challenging realm. Housing is really challenging. I still believe that there is a place for an outside agency to be providing oversight that is not the municipality. I do believe we've got a lot of bench strength now in our planning department that could probably provide support on some levels, and as far as treating properties with affordable entities as a client in a way that we don't already. I think there are a number of ways in which our staff and the Affordable Housing Corporation and attached staff can all pull together more effectively. And I also believe right now that we've got Disraeli Street actually moving ahead, it looks like, and there might be a couple of funding options, and we might be looking at a couple of other opportunities that actually feel like they might be going to be more effective and realistic than what we've done in the past. And, you know, a lot of that has been filled with complication and surprise, like, you know, properties that weren't in a condition that the province would allow us to put residences on, for example. There have been a lot of hits. Councillor St. Jean referred to them. There have been a lot of surprises and hits, but there are things that have been going forward that are really encouraging. We've got a meeting on Monday that's really going to put us in an exciting position. And, you know, I think having that bit of separation is helpful in many ways. And I don't see a benefit to losing it. I could certainly see a benefit to reviewing what the model looks like and reviewing what the terms of reference, it's not a terms of reference here, it's the articles, whether they are sufficient. I think they do offer enough flexibility to work in a number of different ways. So I really don't support dissolving it, or even sort of talking about it without further context, like talking about what some alternative mechanisms the existing board could actually use.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Ellis on clarification, I think directly to Kate, and then I'd like to go to Councillor Roberts after.
Well, through the acting mayor, it wasn't to Councillor McNaughton, it was a couple of comments.
Then I might go to Councillor Roberts first in case there's extra to add to.
We've heard tonight that there are likely going to be some pretty important announcements coming from the Affordable Housing Corporation, which in good faith and understanding that they're articulated with a real will to make them come to fruition, I think we should give the corporation some time and space to deliver. So I understand the motivation for the motion put before us, but I'm wondering if we could just hit the amber light on it for a little while. Just if the mover and the seconder were amenable to just, we hear it, we understand it, but let's give the Affordable Housing Corporation the time to realize some of the things that we're told are about to be realized. And then maybe that will be the time to bring forward that motion.
Thank you. I'm going to go to staff and then Councillor Pennell.
Through the acting mayor, since I've got the mic at the moment, I just wanted to follow up on Councillor Pennell's questions regarding the bylaw. We can certainly refer changing the language from may to shall in the number of councillors that are on the board. And I just wanted to point out that in the service level agreement about the transfer of property, it says will approve the donation, but at the end of it, it says that the declared surplus as recommended by the county. So it doesn't just happen, it comes as a result of staff report that council approves, so it's not an automatic. We can take that back to the Housing Corporation Board, this conversation aside. But what I did want to say is that the strategic plan, I mean, the efforts of council go back to, I think, 2011 in terms of trying to emphasize affordable housing. The current strategic plan identifies affordable housing as a priority, and in the housing plan that you approved, there were 1,300 units of affordable housing that were identified were required for county residents. And in the period of time that the Housing Corporation has been around, there haven't been, up until this year, any private developers that have built purpose-built, affordable rental housing. Right now, there are 382 units. 2 of those are private sector. There are 12 units going into Base 31. Pinecrest is sitting on 56 that it can't get funding for either. And Newview, which in both situations of Queen Elizabeth School and Nicholas Street, are building purpose-built affordable rental housing, but they're facing exactly the same problem. So, Base 31, just on the basis of critical mass, can give us 12 units right now. So we're far short of the targets that we've set for ourselves. The other important thing is that the research has shown that building single detached homes at market rates don't create more affordable housing. And that's important to consider, because we can leave it to the private sector, but they're going to build what they can afford to sell. And they can't afford to sell affordable rental housing without government support. So this is the position that we're in. We can go through the exercise so that council can see what would happen if we did abolish the Housing Corporation, and you have that right to consider it. But this is the reality of the current climate. If we don't try and force the issue, it won't get built any faster than it has been.
Thank you. Councillor Pennell?
Yeah, thank you for your response. But I think you can see where I'm coming from. We as a council agree to something today. New council comes in tomorrow, they got an entirely different reading. But I've been sitting listening to what you've had to say, and also Councillor Roberts about in regards to trying to get the community more. And I think for that reason, I will support the motion in the hopes that the county will get behind, and perhaps the money's out there. We know it is. But it's trying to get people convinced it's a good project. So I think if we bring the motion forward and pass it, that's going to get out. The papers are here tonight. I'm certain that'll be in the Gazette next week. Part of the story anyway. Maybe get things going. So I will be supporting them.
Now, I would like to clarify. Councillor Engelsdorfer has put on an amending motion, not the main one that it is amending. Yes, or a separate motion. Anyway, Councillor Engelsdorfer has put on a motion right now. Councillor McNaughton, because that was a bit off topic. It was on topic, but not to the main motion. Is your question on the motion, not about the validity of the Housing Corporation?
Actually, I think the motion is about the validity of the Housing Corporation. It would be why I would not be supporting the motion. No, I actually just forgot to say something in what I said before, which is I did want to recognize, but Ellis kind of covered it. I did want to recognize the work that our staff actually did working with 2 developers in particular, or working with a development team in particular for 2 properties, and advocating for as many, doing the advocating and the public consultation, or supporting the public consultation, and working shoulder to shoulder to ensure that they were credible plans, and there would be credible outcomes for the public. So I wanted to recognize that. I was sort of when I should have mentioned that when I was talking about why there are success stories. And it does relate to my comments to Corey's motion, but also to my comments earlier, which are critical. And I just wanted to acknowledge all of that work that has been done. And the QE plan is amazing. and we're going to actually see affordable rentals. And I want to thank Ellis for the comments that it is very difficult to, but that's getting a bit off topic. I'll stop now, but thank you for those comments.
Thank you. That does add to the conversation, so thank you for that. But ICAO.
Thanks for recognizing me, Acting Mayor. I just wanted to take us back a little bit and also comment that the Queen Elizabeth project was not related to the corporation at all. That was a county initiative, as is the Bowery Street Habitat Partnership. And I want to make sure, just again to clarify that for the record, that project also is currently the road, or the infrastructure work is in the proposed budget for 2026. And my understanding was that there was issues with the fire protection. That's not enough water main size to protect for the firefighters, for hydrants. So just wanted to add that we are planning on, we have an agreement of purchase and sale that's on hold with Habitat, and we have placed the capital project in the budget for 2026. Just wanted to make those things, make council aware of those three items.
But that's not about the motion. But that's not about Corey's motion. Can it be said after today? Okay.
I just wondered, in regard to our earlier bit on conditional building permits, would that be an application perhaps that could get that underway quicker?
I can't answer that due to my own personal volunteering with Habitat.
Okay.
I didn't need an answer to my question.
Thank you. That goes to the mover.
So
Thank you.
I put the question to the mover and seconder. Could they hit the pause button with this motion until, budget time?
I think I'd like to see it voted on tonight, personally. I think my seconders feels the same way.
Mover, can I have you read it out one more time just before we vote, and then we are calling the vote directly?
Sure.
Oh, sorry. I get the hand from the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I was just going to reword it slightly, Councillor Engelsdorfer, to say that the following motion be amended to include an additional clause 4, and then your motion.
Yep, and it would be that Council directs staff to prepare a report outlining the implications, process, and requirements for dissolving the Prince Edward County Affordable Housing Corporation, including legal, financial, and administrative considerations related to the transfer of all assets, liabilities, and responsibilities to the corporation of the County of Prince Edward.
Recorded vote.
I don't need to call the vote then.
I'll request.
Kate already got to it, Counselor. You're too slow, I guess. She stole your vote. When you're ready.
I will now call recorded vote, and just to be clear, this is the recorded vote on the amending motion. Councillor McNaughton.
Opposed.
Councillor Brainy.
In favor.
Councillor Maynard.
Opposed?
Councillor Grosso.
Opposed.
Councillor Prinzen.
In favor.
Councillor Roberts.
Opposed.
Councillor St. Jean.
Opposed.
Councillor Harrison.
In favor.
Councillor Pennell.
In favor.
Councillor Engelsdorfer.
In favor.
Councillor Hirsch.
Opposed.
Councillor Branderhorst.
In favor.
And that is lost on a tie vote.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move to the main motion that is on the floor. I'm going to call oh, sorry, clerk. Thank you.
Can I just ask if we needed additional amending motion to change the wording in the bylaw to state that the membership shall have 2 members of council as opposed to may.
Okay, Councillor Pennell, maybe you want to move that as it was your words? Oh, it wasn't, sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm stealing thunder where I don't mean it to be stolen from. Councillor McNaughton. And do we have a seconder?
I haven't spoken to her yet, so, but I'm just gonna look to the chair first, because I think he wants to say something, and I'm interested in that. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Councillor St. Jean.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I believe myself and Councillor McNaughton are the mover and seconder, so if it makes it easier to make a simple amendment, I'm okay with that particular change.
With the shall language?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So as a mover,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so, but I would still have an amending motion that I would at least try to find a seconder for, with little confidence. And that motion would be,
We're Stu, sorry.
no, we're still good, thanks. And thank you for that change. I think shall is the right word. What I was going to propose was that the wording be shall appoint minimum 2 members of council up to 4. So that we don't ever find ourselves in this position again that we need to find some quick members. Also, I'm also hoping to make my job permanent, because I very much appreciate the work that's being done by the board and want to be a member of a body that's pushing for housing.
Do you have a seconder?
Not yet.
Councillor Hirsch.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to, any questions on Councillor McNaughton's amendment? No, it's pretty straightforward. All in favor? That, 1, 2, 3, 4. That fails. Okay, main motion as not amended. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor St. Jean.
I'd just like to remind everybody, I suggested that the shall language as presented by Councillor Pennell was appropriate. And as mover, I would be willing to accept that as the seconder.
Oh, no. Yes,
not the rest of the motion, but
Yes.
just that.
We've already got that.
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
because you know that is fair clarification because I said not amended, but it is amended with even though it was friendly, it is still amended. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
Clarification so that
Nope.
Councillor Pennell knows that his issue was raised and dealt with, yeah.
No, very valid. Thank you for that. I should have said that. Okay, let's call a vote though. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, that carries. Fantastic. Let's keep going. Okay, report of the operational services dated October 21st, 2025 regarding amendment bylaw 113-2025 cooperative tender to TSO-2025-17 supply and delivery of coarse highway salt.
Correct.
You're back, yay. This is, from my understanding, more of a correction motion than anything, so. Okay, we have Councillor Princeton putting it on the floor and I have Councillor Pennell seconding it, great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Princeton Pennell motion that report OPS-22-2025 regarding an amendment to bylaw 113-2025 be received. 2, that bylaw 113-2025 authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the County of Prince Edward and Windsor Salt Limited be amended to reflect that the pricing is based on what was submitted for cooperative tender award TSO-2025-17 supply and delivery of coarse highway salt plus applicable taxes over a 2-year term. And 3, that the amending bylaw as listed on this agenda be approved.
Great, thank you. Any clarification or anything you, nope, you're good? Okay, this is pretty standard. Councillor Harrison?
Yeah, quick question. What is the price? This is a delivered price to our sand domes, or how is this working here?
To you, Councillor Harrison, through Mayor. So the original report outlined the value of the tender. It's still in here, but it is for salt to be brought to the yards. Delivered to the yards. Yes.
And what's that work out to a ton? Just to refresh.
Pardon?
What's that a ton then?
I can't give you the unit rates for the ton.
Oh, okay.
But I can. But it did. We do have 5,000 metric tons is kind of what we're looking at using annually on average.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. I'm seeing no other hands. Let's call a vote. All in favor? That carries. And thank you. We're moving on to items for consent. Can I have a mover and seconder to move these items if I'm seeing, or does anybody like to pull anything first? Get ahead of myself. Okay, I'm seeing nothing. Councillor Prinzen, you got it. Councillor St. Jean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Prinzen St. Jean motion. That items 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6 on tonight's agenda be approved by consent.
Thank you. All in favor? That carries. Moving on, bylaws for consideration. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Engelsdorfer, Councillor McNaughton.
Thank you. It's an Engelsdorfer McNaughton motion that the following bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. 13.1.1, 13.1.2, 13.1.3, 13.1.4, 13.1.5, and 13.1.6.
Thank you. All in favor? That carries. Moving on, confirmatory bylaw. Councillor St. Jean, Councillor Prinzen.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. This is the St. Jean Prinzen motion that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Corporation of the County of Prince Edward at its meeting held on October 21st, 2025.
Great. All in favor? That carries. Who wants my motion? Councillor Prinzen? Councillor Ing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Prinzen Engelsdorfer motion that this meeting now adjourned at 8:57 p.m.
All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much for coming tonight.